thank you guys for joining us. And thank you, David and Tom and Josh. We are, we're floored. We're humbled that you would allow us to kind of be the guinea pigs, the kind of test case here. I agree with David, and I know Stu would concur. The generosity that we have experienced from individuals over the course of the 5 years of our organization's history is just it's jaw dropping. And I've been just blown away when people are made aware of needs, how quickly they rise to the challenge. And so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share my screen here and take you through a presentation to try to share a little bit with you all about what we're doing and what God has allowed us to do thus far. Everyone can see my screen all right?
Yep.
Great. So Appian Media is a non-for-profit organization. We're a Christian team that leverages today's technology to create new and interactive ways to study the Bible. And you can follow our website there. I'll bring this link back up, but Google that name. It's a fascinating origin story, and I want to kind of very quickly take you through it. It starts with coffee, and I think every good origin story ought to. So Appian Media originated from a unique perspective that Stuart Peck and I have as video professionals and as Bible class teachers. We recognize that the written word of God, the Bible, it remains timeless. It's all that we need. But we have been noticing, as I'm sure you all have, that the way that people are learning and studying the Bible is changing. More and more people are looking to digital media and digital aids to help them study. And let's be honest, everyone on some level is a visual learner. And so Stu and I met. We're talking shop over coffee back in 2015. And he was, at the time, he was teaching a high school Bible class. And apparently he was having an extremely hard time trying to find videos, visual aids that he could show his students so that they could see what they were studying. And so he went online looking for video to share with his class, specifically video about the Bible lands, and he was disappointed. Maybe you all have had this same experience. I know I certainly have. He could only seem to find, it seems, video that filled one or two of these criteria. They were either professionally produced video, but historically or doctrinally inaccurate. And he had to kind of give the explanation, well, ignore this part because that's not true, but I want you to focus on this part. Or he would find video that was accurate. It was true to God's message, but the production value was so poor. If you guys can picture, I'm sure you've seen them, these individuals that are lecturing in the Bible lands. The camera never moves for 15 minutes, and Jerusalem just happens to be off in the distance behind them. These were not things that would keep his high school students' attention. Or he was finding media that existed behind a paywall. You had to pay for it before you could even find out whether it was high production value or accurate. So Stu had this crazy idea. He basically said, instead of us sitting here complaining about it, what would it take for us to just make this ourselves? So we did that. We used Kickstarter to finance our first production trip to take a small team to Israel in 2016. And we combine what we say Netflix level production value and thoroughly researched and biblically accurate content and a price point that I think is unmatched. The videos are free. You can watch them free through our website, through YouTube, or our social media channels. And we intentionally chose to present these videos in less of a lecture in the land style and more of a journey with us. Join us in this journey through the lands. We wanted audiences to feel like they were along for the ride. as we discussed the biblical story together. So we wanted them along with us as we went through the old city of Jerusalem, as we crawled through the cave of Adullam, or as we drove a Jeep through the valley of Elah. And while this was originally created to fill a gap in young people's studies, we knew from the outset that this content would appeal to people of all ages and from all over the world and from many different religious or even non-religious backgrounds. And our statistics and analytics have proven exactly that. People of all shapes and sizes, ages are watching this content and enjoying it. All of our projects are financed through donations. As a 501c3, these come from individuals through our online fundraising efforts, through reoccurring donations, through what we call members, and the sale of physical products. And I'll go into that in just a moment. I hope you guys got that email earlier in the week that showed a few clips of some of the stuff that we have done, but I wanted to quickly share a short video that helps kind of describe the heart behind our mission and our team.
I think of the thousands and thousands of hours that this team has put in, and it's just the beginning. Early on, Craig and I made the decision that we wanted to give away a lot of these series for free. And a lot of people might say, well, that's crazy. Through the power of donations, we've been able to do this, and the thousands of hours that this team has put into it.
You think about the reason why. Why would you want to be a part of this? And I mean, when you think about what Appian Media has set out to do, the Bible is so rich.
It is worth it. And it's hard on all of us. It's hard on our families. Bless our wives and our kids who let us go for weeks. And bless the people who trust us with their money. It's because strangers tell us that it saved them from a dark time.
The most important thing is making sure that we're faithful to the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And people are hearing that, and that it's a spiritual benefit to them. It increases their faith in God. It increases their faith in God's Son, in His Word, and it's worth it.
To God be the glory.
So you briefly see a few members of our team, and I want to quickly go through and share with you who these individuals are. We are all made up of New Testament Christians from multiple states. So Stuart Peck is joining us on the call tonight, and he serves as our co-founder, our CEO. I would say he's our principal story developer and initial dreamer. He's the one that birthed this idea, and I serve as our COO and a primary editor on a lot of the projects that we do. The rest of our team, maybe you're familiar with some of these individuals. Barry Britnell serves as our CFO and a researcher, and he's actually a host of several of our series. Jeremy Dehut is my oldest brother, actually, and he's one of the hosts and researchers, and he's a writer of a lot of our study material. Dan Kingsley is one of our executive producers, and he also serves as a photographer on our production trips. Jet Kaiser is our director of photography. He's also an editor, a colorist, a sound design. It should be worth noting that every member of our team is wearing multiple hats to get all of this done. So it's an interesting question when they ask us, what do you do for Appian Media? Danny Kaiser is actually Jet's wife, and she serves as a camera operator and editor and does an exceptional job. Justin Dobbs joined our team just a couple of years ago, and he helps a lot with our written study material. And he's actually the host of one of our podcasts. And Matt Maudlin, I believe he's on the call here tonight as well. He provides some exceptional expertise in marketing and distribution for us. Since 2015, Appian Media has produced 3 major series. So we've already mentioned it. This is what apparently Josh binge watched, was Following the Messiah. This took us 2 years to create and 2 production trips to Israel. And it was fully released in 2017. It's a 10-episode docuseries about the life of Jesus, hosted by Jeremy and Barry. And they take our viewers to some of the key locations and show them the history and the culture of Jesus' life and ministry. In 2018, we released Searching for a King, Israel's United Kingdom, and that brings Jeremy and Barry back to Israel in search of evidence of Israel's first kings, Saul and David and Solomon. So they talk with experts in the field of archaeology, and they really do an outstanding job of connecting the physical history, the geography, with the words of Scripture. So they join a dig through the excavations at Shiloh. They go underneath the city of Jerusalem to see the water shafts that David's men would have used to take the city. They take a plane over the land of Israel to get a bird's eye view. And while not primarily our focus, it has been really encouraging, especially with Searching for a King, that our work has actually started to gain notice among our own industry peers. Searching for a King has been nominated for several film festival awards and actually won the 2019 Content 19 Christian Film Festival, the best documentary and best Christian biblical message in apologetics. And last year, it won the best documentary runner-up at the Christian Worldview Film Festival. That's considered by many to be the most well-respected Christian film festival here in the country. So that was an honor. Last year, we released, in the middle of COVID, our first children's series, Lessons from the Land, the Gospels. This is hosted by Barry, and this is a 13-episode mini-series that aims to take grade school kids through some of the key moments in the life of Jesus. And yes, those animations that you see are very impressive. They were provided by someone who used to work for Marvel. So these were designed specifically with the classroom and homeschooling families in mind. And its release also corresponded with the release of our printed workbooks. These were released early summer of last year for Following the Messiah, Searching for a King, and Lessons from the Land. These are robust workbooks. They have vivid photos and maps and graphics, thoughtful discussion, questions, and applications, and something fairly unique. You'll see in the corner there at the beginning of every lesson, each lesson contains a QR code that you can scan, and it will link you to the corresponding video for that section, for that lesson. We are currently in post-production of our next major series and a fourth workbook, and that's coming out later this year, Lord willing. I'll actually share a sneak peek of this with you all later in the presentation. If you all are into podcasts, our team finally convinced us to dive into this. And so we have released 3 podcasts so far. Inroads is a series that Stu and I were roped into co-hosting, and we talk with a variety of people who are using digital media to share the gospel. So we've been able to interview people like Stephen Kendrick, the filmmaker, Tim Mackey from the Bible Project, and actors like Cameron Arnett. Digging Deeper is a show hosted by Barry and Dan, and they share their knowledge and expertise about the lands of the Bible because of their dozens of trips that they have made collectively to Israel. And then our recently released Listen, My Children. And this is where Justin Dobbs, he provides just outstanding practical instruction on beginning and directing home Bible studies with your families. And he does that by showing us how to do it with his own kids and with his own family. And so this has been an incredibly valuable resource. All of these videos or all of these podcasts are also done in video form. And so collectively, we've had over 40,000 views and downloads on these podcasts series. And it's just humbling to receive the kind of feedback that we have from, like we said, people all over the world are enjoying this content for free. I just wanted to share a few of these testimonials. Claudia is from Florida, and she said she had been using the Following the Messiah series in an adult Bible class. And she said, we've seen an increase in class attendance and interest, participation, and positive feedback. She says, thank you so much for all of the work of your team to make this available. I've recommended it to several people in other congregations. Someone from Saudi Arabia, and when you read this testimonial, you'll understand why they didn't specifically list their names. They said that watching y'all's videos has meant so much to us. It's brought new life and understanding to our Bible reading. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have no idea how much light it has brought us while living in a country where churches are outlawed. Keep up the wonderful work you and your team do. And then Deb from New Zealand said, I've just finished watching both your series and have learned so much. Thank you so very much. I was so pleased to get some visuals to help me when reading the Bible, which for us, that's exactly what we want to hear. She said, I really hope you can do another series. I am very grateful to you all for not only the series that you have made, because it has strengthened my faith, but also for the direction God has given me. We have been blessed to have our content viewed in over 160 countries and counting. And currently we have Spanish, Finnish, and Russian captions available on most of these videos. We are getting our Filipino and Tagalog and Portuguese, some of these reworked and some of these done for the first time. Like I said, the goal is to make this content available to as many people as we can. And really, Stu and I have said from the very beginning, it's about removing barriers. If people want to know about God and learn about the Bible and learn about the land, we want to remove as many barriers as possible. So if cost is a barrier, we want that removed. If language is a barrier, we want that removed. If poor production quality is a barrier, we want that removed, and people are responding. So I'm looking at these now and knowing that Josh is obviously responsible for this upward trend. We have just recently crossed 1.7 million views across all of our platforms. And that includes not only YouTube and social media channels like Facebook, but the content is on Amazon Prime. It's on PureFlix and the YouVersion Bible app. I enjoy this number, 21.5 million minutes watched. So I'm a video guy. I regularly talk about, how many hours people are sitting in front of the television a day. And it's troubling when we think about how much media we consume. But to see this number, to say, you know what, if some of that media that they're consuming is media like this, maybe there is some benefit after all. You'll see in 2020, COVID actually introduced our content to new audiences and families and churches because everyone was stuck at home. Some are still stuck at home, and they were looking for quality biblical material that they could watch together, and found us. And the current numbers that you see for 2021 represent only our views in this first quarter. And so we are trending something like this. Currently, we have 1.7 million views. We're looking at a potential of 3.5 million by the end of this year. And that is very, very exciting for us. Our subscribers and our viewers have increased over 1,000% in the last 3 months. And so we are very excited and thrilled to see this, this content being used and people benefiting from it. Appian Media is celebrating 5 years of since officially launching our first content, and we've got big plans for the future. Not only this new project that we're releasing later this year, which I will tell you about, but our 2 to 3 year plan involves things like securing full-time support for us as co-founders and expanding our team. To date, the work that is done by our team is done on a kind of per project basis. And some of it is done through volunteer because we believe in this so much that we want to get it done. But by securing full-time support, it's going to allow us to produce multiple projects a year, whereas up until now, we've released one major project per year. And some of these potential projects, I'm not committing to anything, but some of the projects that have been proposed would be things like Paul's missionary journeys, a series about the Exodus, perhaps, going back to Israel and doing something about the Old Testament prophets. The possibilities are endless, and our team has about a dozen ideas that we would jump into, funding permitting. This would also, our 2 to 3 year plan involves expanding our library of episodic content, like our podcasts, our devotional series, and our workbooks. So we want people to think of Appian Media as a one-stop shop for churches and teachers and homeschool families to come and get the curriculum that they need in whatever they're studying. And we also would like to launch an app that people could come to and easily access and stream and push the content all from one place. We also would want to allow members, our reoccurring donors, exclusive access to more content through that app. An essential part of achieving these 2 to 3 year goals is what I'll spend the rest of the presentation talking about. It really involves relieving the co-founders of some of these day-to-day tasks that divert our attention away from content creation and company growth. And so what I'm proposing tonight is allowing us the funds to bring on a paid apprentice from a place called Apprentice University, and it's local here in Indiana. This is an unbelievable organization. It is a hands-on learning opportunity for high school and college-age students. And this would allow us as co-founders to remain focused on our long-term growth, the continued conceptualization and production of content, and our ongoing fundraising efforts. So this would be initially a 6-month commitment from one of these students, and they would allow us to increase that time to market or reduce that time to market for current projects. And they would increase the engagement of our potential new donors and our existing donors by being able to provide them more exciting, exclusive content, more behind the scenes content, and the kind of stuff that we know those members enjoy. I personally have firsthand experience with Apprentice University. I actually teach there and have for the last 3 years. So I teach them classes in video production and podcasting and editing. And I've also used some of these apprentices as volunteers for some of our Appian Media events. So I know these students to be highly motivated. They're self-starters. And the ones that I have taught, at least in my classes, are already skilled in the areas that we would need them to be. So beyond this initial 6-month commitment, this could potentially open up a long-term partnership with Apprentice University so that we would have either extended apprenticeships or new apprentices coming in that we could train and that would be able to offer the kind of value that we know we need. So very quickly going through the specifics of this, like I said, it would be a 6-month commitment. And these apprentices, we would have them for 4 days a week. 1 day would be in person with me, and then 3 days a week remotely. And it could be extended. And that happens quite frequently. The companies that use these apprentices usually don't want to let them go. And so we could extend that if we saw the value. The cost for something like this, our first apprentice would likely be a level 2 apprentice, and you're looking at $2,200 a month. For me, for 4 days a week, and the type of work that I've seen these students produce, I think that is an incredible value. So total cost for 6 months would be just over $13,000. Some of the tasks that I would have them, that we would have them help us with would be editing, audio and video when we make podcasts. They would prepare our content for distribution. They would schedule that content on our social media channels. They would be a production assistant for all of the live streaming and podcast recording that we do. We also have plans to begin production, Lord willing, of the next set of Lessons from the Land, our children's series. And we would make use of this apprentice as a production assistant for that. And they would assist us with live events, Lord willing. We will have live events this year. I know David is just as anxious to have those as well. So our premiere for our upcoming series and other fundraising events, and we would definitely make use of them. And finally, not finally, second to last point here is the processing and organizing of media assets. We offer to our reoccurring members access to something we call the resource room. And if you guys are familiar with what most every church offers, there's a resource room where it's got felt boards and all these things that you can use in your classes. Appian Media provides an online library of high-res photos, pre-cut video clips, the animated maps that we use that teachers can download and use in their own classes. and we make that available to our reoccurring donors, we have thousands of assets that are waiting to be processed and shared with these donors. And the Apprentice would be able to help us with that. And they would offer social media management, which I'm very much looking forward to passing that off to someone more qualified. And they would help us in the shooting and editing. Needless to say, we would use them quite extensively, and it would be incredibly valuable to us. And the funding necessary needs to be in hand within the next couple of weeks. We could see ourselves making use of this Apprentice as early as the beginning of May. And so we're looking forward to that. We would have them during Q2 and Q3 of this year during key product launches. And that is what I'm going to kind of leave the presentation with. They would be able to help us during the launch of our next series that we're calling Trial and Triumph, Revelations Churches. And this is a series that we shot in Turkey and through various other places around the world. And it's a feature-length documentary that we, Lord willing, will be releasing during this summer. This Apprentice would be able to, we estimate, offload about 16 hours of work between Stuart and myself a week, so that I can only imagine the kinds of things that we could get done and ideas that we could get rolling by having that time. So as promised, I'll end my presentation before the Q&A with a sneak peek, actually, of Trial and Triumph. No one outside of our team has actually seen this clip. And so this is an early cut, early draft of part of our series, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
To the angel of the church in Ephesus write, the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. But I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love that you had at first. Remember, therefore, from where you have fallen, repent and do the works you did at first. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place, unless you repent. Yet this you have, you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat of the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God.
We're going to be basically following our way down the hill through the city, down to the theater and to the harbor.
So I hope you guys are as excited to see that as we are to release that to you all. This project has been close to 2 years in the making. Is that right, Stu? About 2 years in the making. And we were blessed to be able to make a trip to Turkey in October of last year, which was an unforeseen blessing considering COVID. And we've been working feverishly during post-production to get this done. So I'm going to open it up. I think pass it back to David perhaps, and open it up for questions, but you can reach out to me through these addresses here, me or Stuart, and visit our website there.